Welcome to the Real Mom Hub, where we celebrate the beautiful, profound transformation into motherhood.
It's a journey that shatters and rebuilds us in incredible ways. We share the voices of everyday moms in the trenches, honing and discovering their natural instincts and superpowers.
We air out the hard parts of parenting people don't like to talk about. Because matrescence leaves no one unscathed, and let's be honest, it's as hard as it is joyful.
So why not embrace it? Lean into the growth, the struggle, the magic. This is your opportunity for complete and utter personal transformation.
We're so glad you're here.
Hello. This is Emily popping in here really quickly to just say a note about our hosts today. Callie and I are not hosting this episode. In a wild twist of events, our husbands, the lights of our lives, Kevin and Kyle, agreed to come on and host an episode for us. So you will hear their dulcet tones shortly. One of my favorite things about having Callie as a sister is Kevin. I'm going to be honest. He and Kyle are just good buddies. And it's just making parenting so much more fun. So we talk about marriage. We talk about a few other things. We laugh a little. I hope you enjoy the immaculate vibes.
YOLO. I'm recording my warm-ups.
I can tell.
What are you doing up here?
I need the light.
We're just gonna have some personal time here because Kyle's peeing for what seems like 5
Yeah,
minutes
I just
straight.
double checked that too. That was shocking. All right, continue.
Excuse me.
That was I need the
Hey.
headphones.
Yeah, man, you gotta get the headphones.
Makeup all over them. Hey, listeners, this is ASMR tonight. I have my cashew nut clusters from Costco. How do I make this bigger?
That's what she said.
It just looks terrible. Boo.
This is the sound of every doorknob in my house. I'm glad you're here with us today as we go and explore the universe of becoming a mom. I guess we're talking about marriage today. Marriage is what brings us together.
Together. So we're talking about marriage, and I guess my first question to you, Kev, is when you were not married, what did you think marriage was?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Whoa. Marriage is a partnership, one of trust, and it's a commitment to each other. It's saying that, hey, you are the person, the human that I want to be with for the rest of my life, and I want you to commit the same way to me. And we're gonna make some fireworks. Shine bright like a diamond. Know what I'm saying?
Shine bright like a diamond.
That's it.
Shine bright
But
like a diamond.
it's kind of strange because you're asking me this question that I have to think back, like who I was 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like marriage, like I'm a different person now. I bet if I met myself 5 years ago, I don't want to say I wouldn't recognize the guy that I am now, but I just do things so differently in life. And I have so many different values and priorities, and half of that's kids. And then half of it's like, I got to prioritize Cal, you know, and that's not single life. That's not dating life. Like you get to kind of do things by your own code for the most part.
I didn't even think this far ahead, but that marriage question, I think actually ties into parenthood, which is like, it's hard to think back to who you used to be to then think about the answer.
And to be perfectly clear, I do find myself strongly feeling that I am way better today than I would have ever been if I was trying to get this far on my own.
Mm-hmm.
That's marriage.
I like it.
And I'm not even saying I'm doing it right. I'm just saying like that's just what the journey does.
You've been married how long?
I've been married 5 years.
Okay.
I'm going to spin this back to you before you loop in anybody else to this conversation because I need to hear.
It is hard to remember. I think I don't remember what I thought about marriage, but I knew when I met Emily, there was a feeling that was like, I don't want to go through life without this person. Because I think when you're growing up and maybe you're talking about marriage, you don't have a lot of exposure to like relationships, and then I think you get, into after high school and maybe even after college if you're going to college, and you're just getting exposed to more relationships, different personalities together, not together. So I think, yeah, I looked at it early on. I was like, oh, you just get married. That's what you do. And then I think it was like, oh, I can't not be with this person. I'm going to lock it down, is the second thought.
You just hit the dice on the head right there.
Hit both dice, snake eyes on the snake head. Yeah, so I think that was the overwhelming thought, which is like, I don't want to not be with this person. I
Dude.
don't not want to not be with this person. Should we loop in our friends now?
Well, so my final question on that, did you feel that fairy tale feeling? Because what you just described is like what you would read, I feel like, in like a perfect romance world of like, I saw the person and I knew I had to be with them. And I'm definitely in agreement. Like there was a very clear point in time, I would say probably fairly early on in the relationship between Cal and I, after we got more serious. We were like friends for 6 months before we started dating. But there was like a pretty stark shift in my mind of like, we're going through hard times, but I can tell this perfect person. Anyway, did you feel that like right out of the gate, or are you saying like, we got to know each other and then like, yep, switch flipped?
I felt it.
There.
I felt it when she made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, Emily does that to a lot of people.
She does.
She has the hard questions.
But it comes from a place of like genuine curiosity, and in my scenario, I felt love. I just felt loved from her. And I think it was those two things coupled together, being uncomfortable and knowing that this person loved me, was like, oh, you want to grow together. I think that's part of being uncomfortable, is like getting through that. So
yeah,
I would say that
nice.
was it for me. Should we call our friends?
I think that was a great way to start this thing, and I hope they can pick up right where we've left off.
Yeah.
Boys, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're way too loud.
Yeah.
I
Kyle and I
can't
have
help
been,
it.
Emily, we've been vibing with some pretty chill.
Okay, like I'm
calm-
not shouting. No one's shouting in here.
Yeah,
I heard you kicked Callie out though. So
Yeah.
is that chill?
We're gonna do ASMR podcast.
What is ASMR?
That's where I'm gonna get a bag of chips, and Kevin's gonna get a bag of chips.
What?
And
Wait.
we're going to crunch the chips in the bag.
They're just trying to get under my skin.
And this is what you get when you invite us onto the podcast.
I can't right now.
So, fellas, ladies, Kevin and I were talking about marriage. And I went shopping at Target today, and I got the craziest socks. So we were talking about marriage and what we thought it meant to us before we were married.
Oh,
And
wow.
to kind of lead, and Kevin actually brought in something good, which I didn't even intend to do, but he said that he's changed so much, right, since he got married, and it's hard to recollect that time before marriage. And I think there's a comparison to having kids and not having kids. Like, it's hard to remember a time when you didn't, or who you were when you didn't have kids.
Do you feel that way, Kyle? Or Kevin just feels that way? I need some clarification here.
No. So it just, like, to be clear, we're not different people. We're just saying like who I am today, right now, with where my priorities are, is so different from where my priorities would have been had Cal and I not been married. And so I just like, I told Kyle, like, if that person saw who I was today, there's a chance that he might not recognize the person, but I think it's all for like all these amazing, awesome, I am a better person. I'm better where I am today. And I truly believe that than where I was 5 years ago before we were married. Hey, I used to like be that stock individual that used to play video games and like binge out on junk food. And, am I saying it's a terrible life? Absolutely not. But do I feel like I'm a stronger individual now because I don't have all those tendencies anymore? Yeah. Yeah.
Snaps for Kevin.
And I love Cal so much. Does anybody know that on this podcast? Okay. We
Wow,
need to cut those
Kevin.
owns out.
Mhm.
Should we kick this thing off with some theme music?
You guys been practicing?
Oh, Kevin's just dancing.
Like what I was saying is the last time I went to Target, I really thought I was only going to spend $10. But you know what happened? I spent $180. How about that?
Hey, that's
But
a
don't
pretty
you
good
know,
Target run.
we
Thank
got
you.
a good deal on diapers.
Thank you.
So, thanks for joining us today. Kevin and Cal, I have a question for you both together.
Mhm.
What's the biggest shift from having one kid to having two kids?
You give a lot less fishes.
About what?
About
The things you used to give a fish about. Like, let me jump in here. Is the house as clean? Absolutely not. Do we sweep the floors every single night? No. We're probably lucky if we do it twice a week. The reality is like, do we take our shoes off every time we come in and out of the house? No. Did we do that before we had one kid? No. Should we
keep
have?
trying.
Absolutely. And we think about it. But the thing is we're so much less consistent because we have two kids now instead of just one.
Okay, I was thinking about like eating habits or like just things that I used to stress about with Charlie or like his first experiences like doing things with Nora. I'm like, oh yeah, that happened.
So I'll throw this back to you in the form of a question to Emily and
Wait,
Kyle.
I'm not done with your question.
Oh, I'm not done either. I'm just asking this question of how often is Kieran content and totally ready to play by himself?
He's getting there. It doesn't
Okay.
last very long, but it's like pretty good these days.
I'm going to cut you off real quick here out of respect of time. Yeah, so you take that and you divide that by about 4, and that number you're left with is the time you get to maybe escape to the bathroom. But you better be done within 30 seconds. Otherwise, one of them are going to come walking in to say hi. And
I was
bet
gonna
at
say that's your
3,
first mistake is like thinking you're gonna go by yourself.
Yeah.
At 3 kids, I don't think that there's even a prayer on this planet I'm going to be able to even walk out of a room without someone following me, which is fantastic to think about and also a little bit suffocating.
So I actually think our marriage has improved. But
With two?
yes.
I agree.
But I think
Yep.
that's just
Cool.
because we've been married longer.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
what's
also
better?
it feels more selfish saying you take 2 kids, I'm going to take none, versus like when you just had one, it's like, can you take Charlie right now? I need some time for myself. So it's like that time gets a little bit more scarce. And I think Cal and I have actually been better about trying to identify when the other person needs it
Mm-hmm.
and then
That's a good
offering
skill.
to take it, versus before we had to ask the other person. When we just had one kid, it was like, can you take Charlie to the store?
And I think just our communication has gotten so much better, which it maybe had to, or maybe that's being married longer. I don't know.
Are
Necessity.
there things like behaviors or practices that you attribute that growth to?
I think we've gotten a lot more intentional, and this might just be lifestyle and just kind of where we're at in terms of age, years together, and what we want to see for our future. But we've been doing a lot more goal setting, intentional goal setting, and like not just like let's do it and then let's leave it. We constantly are coming back to it.
I also think we're less stressed in some ways because we give less fishes. I'm going to circle back to that because I think like maybe it's just me now that I'm saying it out loud. I think there's like more laughter and just like kind of rolling with the punches versus like obsessing over this one human. Okay, Kevin, do you want to go back to your question or should I actually let you host?
Now, here's the issue with me hosting is we as in Cal wrote out the questions that we brainstormed together. and Cal took them downstairs. So
No,
I don't have the questions in front of me.
I left them on the desk.
She can hold them up to the screen.
Guys, she loves me so much.
Oh, wow. They're right there.
Oh, man. What advice did you receive on your wedding night that's still true today?
Wedding night?
Wedding
I know, that's what
night.
I said. Kevin was so intent
Okay.
on night being part of it.
Like, I think by the time we got to the night part of the wedding, which
Pause.
let's just classify that as
Pause.
like, you know, dinner time
Pause.
and after.
Pause. The wedding celebration. There's always, whenever you go to a wedding celebration, it's like the couple has to awkwardly sit in front of everybody that comes through and siphons their own little 2 cents of information on how to have a successful marriage. Whether that's
No.
at like the
No, we didn't. We
bridal
totally
party.
canceled that part of ours.
Yeah, I did too. So
I don't actually remember. Like, did we get any advice, Kyle, or did I just black it out? I don't know.
I don't remember a lot of
okay, this isn't that was a terrible
the
question.
evening. Sorry. Not a good resource.
I really don't remember.
All right, now that we've rewound, I'm going to ask my question again. What habits pre-kids have you continued?
Wait, you know what? I think I did just remember. I think the most poignant one was like never go to bed angry with each other,
That's what Kevin said.
which I actually kind of think is bullshit, actually.
And then that's what I said.
And it took me years to get to that realization that that's bullshit. Bullfish. And it took being married to Kyle for several years for me to realize that that advice is actually bullfish.
Okay, this is funny.
Kev, fully deflated. I don't remember this advice.
Well, I got it a
Wow.
lot. Like, it just
Feel-
came in a lot of forms. I think it's just like, not the boomer generation. Who are the ones before the boomers? Like, older people just love to be like, never go to bed angry. And I'm like, what? Because, for example, like Kyle, you and I have done a lot of work on our communication styles, and our processing styles are so different. So for the first however many years of our marriage, I like to go like hot and heavy. I'm not conflict averse as long as we're there for, resolution. And then I want resolution right away. I'm like, let's go in, say what you got to say, problem solve, get to a solution, done.
Just to clarify, hot and heavy for kind of the rest of the world and how they process hot and heavy.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing in this situation. It's like you kind of get it all out on the table, I guess is a better way to phrase it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I was homeschooled till high school. I don't know what to tell you.
just clarifying.
Still got some weird
You
tendencies.
use that
Double
as a
entendres.
scapegoat all the time.
You know
Hot and
what?
heavy is
If-
pretty
hey,
self-explanatory.
Hey, listen, I've been diving into childhood development recently, and those were some really formative years, okay? So, that I was homeschooled.
No excuses. All right.
Anyways, that's how I prefer to handle arguments, conflicts,
Hot
tension in
and
relationships.
heavy.
And then you're done. You sort it all out. Kyle takes a long time to process, which meant for a while I would just like fillet him with all of my arguments.
Immediately.
Right? Like I would technically
Oh.
win the argument, and he'd just be sitting there like, what ton of bricks just hit me? But then he'd go to sleep, and then you'd wake up, and he'd actually have some really thoughtful response to the problem as a whole. And basically in one sentence, he'd say something really meaningful that would just, like totally wreck the foundation of the argument I'd been building over dinner the night before.
Mhm.
So if he had not gone to bed, in this example, stewed on it, become more thoughtful, shown up the next day, if he didn't have that processing time, I mean, we're still not in a better place. Versus sometimes I do go to bed a little annoyed. It doesn't happen that often because we're pretty good at fighting now. But once I realize he actually needs time and space, well, then I don't get my resolution. So then I'm still kind of simmering when we go to bed. And I think that's okay. It's all just a balance. That's why I think that advice is absolute bullfish.
I wonder if that advice is actually like, don't acknowledge your feelings and go to sleep.
That's actually what I read when I hear that. Yeah.
This is funny because this just came up for Kevin and I when he brought that up. And I was like, yeah, I've gotten really good at going to bed angry. It was like,
I was like, what's up? Like,
this was
That's
40
what I
minutes
think
ago.
too, Kevin.
yeah.
Yeah, Cal, so what's up? Like, do you often go to bed angry?
No, I don't, but I used to never be able to. Like, I used to like want to follow
Yes.
that advice. And then it was
Yes.
never like, it literally took me to it took me therapy, and my therapist saying 11 p.m. is usually the worst time to have an argument. for me to be like,
Oh, yeah.
oh, that's actually great advice. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
rational. My
No.
thoughts are not rational.
No.
So, like, sometimes we still do fight it out, but like, I can much more easily say, I just need to go to sleep. Also, maybe that's one of those things with having 2 kids where I'm like, I actually just need this sleep more
Yeah.
than like winning this argument right now.
Oh, I learned this recently and I loved it. Let me think about actually regurgitating this phrase successfully. I was listening to an interview and I can't remember. This guy just wrote a book. He's a lawyer down in Texas. He writes a lot about communications. And I think basically what he said was, if you are entering a conflict with someone and you care about this relationship even a little bit, if this person matters to you and your only goal is to win, you've already lost the argument.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, it's just food for
good.
thought. Sticking with me
That's
these
good.
last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean you fold?
Yeah, it means you actually just
Roll
roll
over.
over. Yeah.
Well, okay, so along that line though, like in my defense, I guess on the more serious arguments or issues, yes, I think everything you all have shared is very valid and you don't necessarily have to go to bed without being mad at each other. But in my world, like it was if I get fired up at Cal because she has requested that the house get cleaned before we go to bed and all I wanted to do is sit on the couch and just like from the day, I've gotten mad about it. Cal and I have gotten into plenty of arguments about it. But I also like, I don't know, I'm like quick to just be like, you know what? Does this actually like matter right now? Does it? Am I going to care about this exact moment and the feelings I have right now 5 days from now? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, which typically on stuff that's like what I just described of like, I'm mad because my wife wants me to clean the house, then so you just move on and you go to bed not mad at each other. Because then that doesn't build up over time into something bigger, I guess. You just
For
let it go.
you. That's an
I was gonna
impressive
say,
part of you.
Hashtag
yeah,
frozen.
that's really nice, Kevin. I really don't think most people have access to those kinds of skills.
Yeah, no, I don't know how you do that. He does. He'll be like so mad and then he'll just like go to sleep and be fine.
And not just go to
Wow.
sleep, but Cal gets pissed at me because I can close my eyes and be asleep in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It takes me minimal effort to fall asleep.
Yeah, it's incredible.
That's not fair. I want that. Actually, I want both of you to shout out your word at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Not Emily.
Oh wait, sorry, it was Cal and Kev. I just got excited. I wanted to participate.
she was.
Oh, yeah.
I-
No, you can. You're in too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
All-
sorry.
all
I
three of you.
thought Kyle was throwing this to Callie and Emily.
All three of you. Yeah, no,
Okay.
this is good. Okay, so you're all going to shout it out. What's the first word that comes to mind when you think about having 3 kids? 1, 2, 3, go.
Expensive.
Chaos. And yet, raise your hand if you want 3 kids.
For all the
I mean, that
listeners
is
out there,
ultimately the
we
goal.
are all raising our hands right now.
I don't know how to spell Emily's word, so I don't know if it counts. Okay, Kev went to money. Cal went to chaos, which sounds like 2 kids. And Emily went to first
Cave
trimester. I
talk.
don't know.
Couldn't get past a physical reaction.
Yeah, she went to
To
Neanderthal.
the cerebral my brain was cut off from the rest of me.
Mm-hmm.
Kev, why'd you go to money first?
This is typically where my head goes when I think about kids, mainly because we had a pretty
Wait.
No, sorry. When we think about like a new baby, like the thing that has sat with me since Charlie was we did everything natural. We went the cleanest route possible in the hospital.
The cleanest route.
We-
Nothing was
possible.
clean about it.
We
But-
weren't allowed to have guests come in. I think I went out and got all of our food outside of like the complimentary warm meals that Cal got for being in a bed. And the bill that came back completely blew my mind, on top of like we had arguably awesome insurance and it floored me. So like that stuck with me of like, Kyle, you could have called it 2 kids. If I didn't have 2 kids at this point, I probably would have been like, oh man, adding another one, like that's like how far I'm seeing right now. Is just like, okay, we got to gear up for that and then plan for what comes after, you know?
Mhm.
So then why do you want 3?
Why do I want 3? Because when I look later on in life, in a big old macro sense, I see Cal's family and the connection that a larger family unit has, or their family unit specifically. And it's just something like, to me, that connection is more valuable than anything else. And I think that's what I want to chase in the long term. So it's like, you asked me, what's your first thought? Great. I just took care of like the immediate in my mind. But like, you give me what's my 5th, 10th, 20th thought? Like, yeah, I'll get around to this whole beautiful experience of, you know, family is what Cal and I have committed to, and it's a huge value item for both of us. So, and you know what, if we're in a position where we have 2 kids and that's where we're at, like, it's still going to be beautiful. Like, and our goal is, I believe, 4 at this point. Cal has not told me that it's different. So, but like, that's the end goal, is having that units that, like, we are there to take care of each other and to experience life together.
So I like want to ask why the rest of you want more than 2 kids, but are we supposed to be talking more about marriage?
Yeah, I think we could get back on track to the marriage.
Okay.
Just like, it's like, how are you two gonna approach this thing? Because I would say having kids is probably the most stressful thing that a marriage can go through.
Okay. I mean, there are a lot of
I mean, to have no kids to having kids, you're responsible for
Yeah.
stewarding this life through the world.
No, I actually agree. I think that's giant.
It
That's
takes
fair.
2 people coming together, maybe not perfectly, but like, you then have to support, teach, provide for, care, like all of those things coming together for 2 people that are not the same person.
Mm-hmm.
The wild part, though, Kyle, is that there are so many people that do it solo.
True.
Oh my gosh. That blows my mind.
True.
It
Yeah.
totally blows my mind.
Every time I think about exactly what you just said, Kyle, and then I'd like expand out to that thought of, but there are some people that do this on their own, that it's just, I don't know, puts things into perspective.
That's a
I've
good
got a question, Kyle. If you could quickly put on your noise canceling headphones and not listen to Emily's answer here, I'd be curious on your separate answers. In the world of a marriage, and for the listeners, Kyle just took his headphones off. He has no idea what's going on right now. In the world of marriage, do you and Kyle have non-negotiables for each other, and how did you come to like this living life together and realizing like what a non-negotiable is? And for example, in our world, for Cal and I, a non-negotiable is that the kitchen will be clean every single night without fail. You do not go to bed without a clean kitchen. No ifs or buts.
Like that's a non-negotiable for me that you do because I desire it.
And I would not have done it if I was living single, most likely.
Let me think about that. I'm sure we do. And actually, that's a great question for us to ask each other. I'm curious what he says. When I heard non-negotiables, I thought something much bigger than that.
Well, then take it
frankly.
bigger. Is there anything big?
Yeah, things for us, I think, are like trust is huge. I think another one is trusting the other person to behave at face value. We're not trying to make each other guess our thoughts. Like that's huge. We're not trying to make each other guess where we're at, what we want. We really make an effort to hand the other one the keys to the kingdom, really, and just say, I'm feeling X, Y, and Z about this. If you could specifically do these things, it would help me feel better.
So you've learned working together, like keeping it all out in the open and not keeping things to yourself is
just very upfront.
like
What's funny is the non-negotiables that we really honed over the course of our 7 years of marriage before we had a kid. I mean, having the kitchen clean before I went to bed was one of them. And now we always finish cleaning the kitchen in the morning because the baby's room is right off the kitchen. I mean, the non-negotiables, I would say,
have shifted quite a lot in parenthood.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So now I want to hear his answer.
So, real quick question: would you say that it within marriage is very much you and him working for each other, and then now that Kieran's in the picture, does Kieran in some ways dictate the relationship between you and Kyle?
100%. Was it Brooke? Yeah, Brooke was on recently. She was like, it's like a cult. You have a baby, like your firstborn's a cult. It's the cult of the baby. The firstborn comes out and we're all worshiping the baby, and like, what does the baby need? And like, we all monitor our behaviors and, make changes surrounding this tiny being.
Kyle can see your face right now, but he can't hear you. And he's like, what the hell is she spewing right now?
I'm just like, that really resonated. I was like, oh yeah, cult of the baby, 100%. Absolutely.
Hey, boss.
Okay, I feel like Emily's allowed to listen, but she has to mute herself so Kyle can talk.
I won't say anything.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, Kyle.
Yeah, I think you should mute yourself.
Did you hear the question before you took your headphones off?
No.
Okay. Hey, Kyle.
Yes.
What are your non-negotiables that you and Emily have for each other, and what have you learned to be a non-negotiable in your relationship, marriage, thinking about successful marriage? And for example, I gave this example to Emily. A non-negotiable for Cal and I is the kitchen has to be clean without fail every single night before bed.
These are ones that Emily has for me or that we have for each
No,
other?
it's just if you're talking to,
both ways.
It's your relationship. Like, we're talking about a successful, happy relationship, and how do you get there? Because clearly there has to be some things learned that you do for the other person.
I think leaving whiskers in the sink. Don't do it.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Kevin's looking sheepish.
I'm not. I'm sitting here smiling. Don't be putting thoughts and images in the listeners' ears.
Are growing wider by the second, listeners. So
I've never been more comfortable in my life.
I think rules of engagement, which we already talked about, but I think early on, knowing that I take a long time to process, and also just like evening conversations are not a good time to argue. I think that's maybe not a non-negotiable, but I think we try to adhere to that one as much as possible. Kitchen, we've given up on the kitchen. Used to give a fish. Don't. Non-negotiable. The way that Emily's face was looking as I had my headphones off, I was like, "Uh-oh."
I know. I should have made her mute her face.
Non-negotiables. I guess a non-negotiable for me would be like, don't, like, here's an example. If she stubs her toe, don't be like, oh, is your foot okay? Like, don't ask about pain. She processes pain in a very specific way where it's really better if I immediately like look the other way or just run away.
So really, okay, but you don't have to list all of them, Kyle. And for the sake of time, I think what I was going for with that question is just...
You don't like my answer? That's fine.
No, I do. I appreciate them. I think it was more or less identifying that like there is intentionality between both parties of the relationship to look out for not only each other, but also like things that, or identifying things that, you go out of your way to get done.
Mm-hmm.
I think something that too alludes to both of you as like a partnership. Kyle, you were starting to go down this list of like, here's the things, like maybe daily, weekly, they come up where you at least have to think about it once. And Emily complimented that by instantly going to like, here's the macro of how we operate together in a non-negotiable way. And it's like, you got the individual, like the independent ideas versus the macro, and like working together. I think that leads to a big old compliment. And
you know what?
That's not to say
point.
Emily wasn't thinking about the littles or Kyle wasn't thinking about the macro. I think that it's just strengths and weaknesses. Bada boom, bada bing.
And I was going to ask, I hadn't written it down because I wasn't quite sure how to say it. I'm just going to say it. I was mostly going to ask Kyle how he so lovingly and selflessly appeals to Emily's more princess tendencies in their marriage.
What a great lead-in. I really appreciate how you phrased that thoughtful, true question.
But now after Kevin said that, I'm like, okay, maybe Kyle does all those minor, like the not minor, Like you do the small everyday things, and I know Emily does some too, but maybe Emily is more in charge of the macro.
I mean, they definitely feed each other. Because if I didn't do the macro would not be seen through all of the anger that I had caused by not performing the micro. So the macro
Well,
wouldn't
and
be there.
okay, again, to be clear, Emily pointed out right out of the gate, the moment I asked the question, she was like, you just gave me a very specific answer or example. But where my brain went to instantly was, what's the non-negotiable in our relationship? It's trust. It's keeping things out in the open. It's not holding back from each other.
Mm.
And I think that happens on a daily. That's individual items. It's just not specifically saying, I bring Emily coffee every single morning.
He did for years.
I was
And then we
gonna
had a
say.
child.
Oh, and then it stopped.
Well, because now
He does sometimes
I
now.
get the kid in the morning.
Yeah, I'll
That's
take
a
it.
good trade-off.
It's a really good trade off. I think that is true. I think that I do think about these bigger things more frequently. And I also know having a kid has made us realize that Kyle has not previously really thought about the future much. Like his brain is not trained on future, it's trained on present, which is so funny. I didn't know that really until we had a kid. And then I'm thinking, well, okay, all these things need to happen. Like all these, 5-year, 10-year. We have made annual goals and kind of check-ins for like almost our whole marriage, and we'll do 5-year and 10-year. But his brain does not immediately go to, well, what needs to happen if I want my future to look like this? What's also really funny though is that, I mean, certain things that need to happen for me, like I need the bathroom to be cleaned once a week minimum, or I like lose it. I'm not asking him to clean the bathroom. I think he's done it twice our whole marriage. But now, I mean, it took him a few years to notice that. And now the things that used to be ass twitchy for him, that were my tendencies, my needs for around the house, for the small things, the small details, I think honestly some of them bother him more than me.
No, since having
Would
a
you say
child.
that's true? No, before Kieran even. Like I think I can't have clutter on my horizontal surfaces just for my brain space. Now I think that bugs Kyle more than me even. When you come upstairs from working and the house is a little bit of a disaster.
I think here's my take, which is I feel like over the years I've adopted the things that I think are important to you that also have become important to me truly, because I think they're important to you.
Oh.
And now when I see things that aren't in alignment with that vision, I think it's hard for me to hold on to that, knowing that it might also be bothering you more.
Wow, I never knew that. That's really kind.
Just to not with the bathroom ever, because
he doesn't care about the
I
bathroom.
don't care about the bathroom.
No, but it took you 5 years of being married to me to notice that it happened. Like,
hey, but
like
maybe
I
in
remember
5 years
time,
I'll care about the bathroom.
Well, no, I remember the first time you said, "Wow, you cleaned the bathroom. Thank you so much." And I was like, "Happens every week, buddy." Like, I literally don't think you noticed. Like, you knew the difference.
Hey, I have another question here. How do you find balance in your marriage?
That's a broad one. Can you add a little context?
Yeah, so sometimes things are unbalanced, and that's like where there's a weight on a scale that tilts one way or the other.
No, he's
and
not going to give
how
you
do
more context.
I think we're unbalanced.
How do you keep things
I think
balanced?
we're unbalanced right now.
I agree.
And I
Kyle, I
think,
want to hear why you think that.
well, I think we've gotten to a pattern where Kieran goes down, and I feel like the house kind of has to shut down, just to like, we don't want to wake him up. I don't want to wake him up. That's not fun.
Nobody wants it.
Thing we can do to have that not happen, sign me up. So that's just like quiet, lights are dimmed, we're getting tired. Yeah, so I think we've lost that time when we connect, and I've started like a new job, and so we don't have days together. So I think we're unbalanced right now, but I think we're also getting to the point where we feel that unbalance and we want to get it back, which is new because we had so much time that we were either in balance or right near balance in our previous life.
Or had the ability to craft it to what we needed or wanted.
So
That's so funny because you're talking about these again, Kevin, to your point, you're talking about, well, the house shuts down, so our alone time is just like not really. And when you said imbalanced, my brain went, of course we're imbalanced. And again, it was this big stuff like, wow, Kyle's grinding so hard. He's shifting industries. Not only is he doing a new job and he's in training, but he's learning new skills as a single breadwinner in this house right now. That's our ultimate goal, which is a whole new level of stress and responsibility that neither of us were anticipating when we went into this marriage. And I'm like not working, and I've traditionally always loved work, so I'm feeling imbalanced and not in a groove yet in my day. And then he comes home and the house is totally imbalanced. Like I'm like thinking about these bigger things where I'm like, it's not equal like it used to be. And it's okay if it's not equal, it's just different. But where's the balance on different in our roles? So it's, yeah, I went straight to macro. And Kyle's like, how are we spending our evenings? It's a good balance because both matters. They both feed into each other.
Well, so since you guys have like, what is it, 8-9 years of experience here?
It'll be our 9th wedding anniversary, August.
Yes, you've been together, let's just call it a decade. And
Plus, yeah.
in that, so there's a lot of change that's very, very recent right now. And I think there's going to be a lot of growing pains probably within like the short term. But you guys were arguably for Cal and I like a prime couple of, we didn't really know what the secret sauce was, but we knew like, hey, we want to chase connection like what you and Kyle have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess I'll throw this question back to balance being more of a concept of learning and knowing what's needed for your relationship, whether that's what's needed specifically for the other person or just what's needed collectively as a whole. Like what exercises, things, like what did you do
What is the
to
secret
get
sauce?
to
He's
that
asking.
place?
Yeah, I'm glad you bring this up because actually I'm going to push back on all of Emily's non-negotiables being macro because I guess that's a given, but I feel like that's the foundation. Is a non-negotiable also a foundation or no?
I would say, I mean,
yeah.
I would argue it's a staple because it comes up probably pretty darn frequently if it's big enough to be a non-negotiable.
Okay.
We probably called it more of a value in the beginning of our marriage.
Yeah.
Than a I actually think non-negotiable is pretty constrictive language for me. I think everything in marriage
Kev, terrible phrasing.
is a negotiation.
I agree, Emily. I support you.
Probably we would have been talking about it more in terms of values.
Okay. So then spin the word to value. Like where and how did you get to that point? And I know like, yeah, when you sign up for marriage, like you clearly have had these conversations ahead of time, but you learn things after you get married that just like continue to evolve and develop a relationship. And maybe it's just outside looking in, like what advice do you give people on how to continue to pursue that so you're pursuing it not only for the other person but for you as a collective?
Heavy hitter, Kev, snap.
Yeah.
I think back to our marriage prep, maybe not a lot throughout my day to day, but from this question for sure. Just I think sitting with each other, knowing other people are intentionally sitting with each other and talking about the exact same questions. And I think I think it can be uncomfortable to kind of have a formulaic, like, oh, let's sit down and review these questions together as a couple. But it really takes the emotion out of it. And it poses a question and then the two people kind of say their piece about what they think it is. And you can watch other couples fighting or not fighting. But yeah, I think that was huge where I think both of us, I wasn't very good at this in the beginning, but maybe are able to remove the emotion a little bit from our approach.
Oh, we worked on this a lot. I just forgot. We worked a lot on only tackling hard issues when we were emotionally sober. So we would say, like, I'm actually not emotionally sober right now, if it was a tough call in the beginning.
I don't remember that, but I love it.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
We did.
That's fun.
Meaning, like, I'm really tired or I'm really stressed and it has nothing to do with you, or I'm stressed and it does have something to do with
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
stressed.
Or I can't tell would be how I would be
Yeah.
feeling.
Or like some of the most ridiculous arguments we've ever had, we were drinking, like not even necessarily drunk, like 2 drinks in, just obnoxious behavior. Just because the emotions spike. So yeah, we, I think, did a lot of work to make sure that we were approaching from a calm state. We worked a lot on tone of voice specifically for me.
Mhm.
And
We all knew it's okay.
yeah. Yeah, like we honestly nitpicked in those years. We would have arguments and we would always do a postmortem. Hey, I didn't like how you showed up that way, or I didn't like how I showed up, or hey, thinking back on this, if a similar thing arises in the future, you're actually going to be much more effective at persuading me or communicating with me if you do it this way. Or when you said this, I totally shut down. If you ever use that phrase again, you can expect similar results.
Well, I have one.
We did a lot of that.
Yeah, and I think I brought into the relationship when I heard no, I would shut down,
Fully.
just completely shut down, and then to learn that no is actually, hey, let's just talk more about this because maybe I'm not communicating it well enough, or something's not completely aligning, or it is just a no, but I'm not understanding. So I think making sure we were on the same page with how we communicate around conflict, I think was huge.
And no is often a fun word for me because I hear no and I'm like, oh,
Oh,
no?
you said no?
Okay, let me actually, like, it's fun for me. It like gets me energized, and it's never been a shutdown for me. So it took me years to actually hear Kyle when he was saying that to me, A, and then B, actually believe him, because I just couldn't
Here, still
comprehend
alive.
it. Yeah.
And
Good stuff.
I would throw the question back at you guys because you got married, had a kid, bought a house. Like you did
Yeah.
a lot of growing up
In like
real
5
quick.
minutes.
And I don't think we would have a kid right now if you didn't have a kid before us because we're too sheepish. So, how have you navigated maybe what we were just talking about? Because I think your relationship is beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I feel like we
Broski.
learned so much from you guys.
Yeah.
Well, we're just like still in survival mode, but like we figured it out. I feel like we're like treading out of survival mode a little bit and able to start doing more of this, which I don't know why, how.
When did you smell survival mode ish leaving? Like there obviously is a point where you could see like, oh, we were, and you're still in it, but you're kind of like moving, treading water out of it. Like, does
I
anything come to mind?
wonder if it's when I stopped working full time.
I'd say that's a good turning point.
I don't think it's because I was working less. I actually think that created more conflict because it wasn't balanced. So like we had to figure out relationship stuff because our roles were so different all of a sudden. And there's just like so much to navigate with who does what and how do we thrive. And like we'd made a choice to start thriving instead of surviving.
It does just seem like a much more joyful life for you two the past almost 2 years. And when you were working full time, you literally had the same job in different schools. So
yes.
it actually was equal in maybe
In
kind
so
of a
many
mirror,
ways. Yeah. And we didn't
almost.
even like need to talk about it that much because you could say like, oh, this happened. Oh, yeah. You know, like you didn't even have to explain what
What
happened.
we had to
and
be
you're like,
careful of,
"Oh."
yeah, what we had to be careful of was not saying, yeah, but I had that same situation, but worse.
Right.
Yeah, but
like,
I
oh, yeah,
I
he said
slept
that was
worse
bad.
than you did. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Oh, you had a student tell you that your one piece of music was bad today? Well, I had a student tell me our whole concert was trashed. Like we had to we've navigated like how Cal was describing the blitz. I think it just was we grew into this place where we were just surviving, and it took a while for that glacier, I think, to kind of melt and figure itself out. And then I mean, amongst all of that, like we had job changes, lifestyle changes, that kind of aided towards having a healthier communication between the two of us. But it does boil down to communication, and I think Cal and I really in the last 2 years have double down, triple down on figuring out how to communicate for the other person, not just for our relationship, but it's like, okay, what do I need to do to be there for Callie?
And amidst the survival, like, we chose to make those changes because we had relationships like you guys, like mom and dad, where, you know, we could identify like we want more.
Yep.
So what do we do? And obviously, like, our jobs were part of it. And yeah.
So it wasn't just your kids and child. I never knew that. It was.
No, it's outside influence.
You
Kids
guys, I have
included.
2% left on my phone.
And with that, I have made it through 3 out of the 12 questions.
Get the fish out of here. I was like, I don't need her to edit
Guys,
it.
this was fun. I learned some things about my husband.
Yeah.
In detail.
I think I processed through our marriage even a little bit.
Me
So
too.
Go
good.
team.
Go team.
Okay, boys, we'll let you wrap up. How fun was this? Thanks, everybody.
Love you all. Love you.
Bye. Takeaways?
Dude, Emily still scares me a little bit.
Same.
Whatever. I got that off my chest. I feel better now. You know, it's whatever. I'm not scared of anybody.
That's good. Me neither.
She's intimidating in all the good ways.
She
Emily,
really is.
I love you and I respect the dickens out of you. Yeah, such a big topic to come to the table today.
Which one? Marriage?
Just marriage. Like, what was marriage? What is marriage to you? How do you do marriage successfully? And I'm thinking to myself, how do we stay authentic to who we are individually in this conversation while also making it applicable to all of the people that are going to take a listen at this conversation?
Well, I think you can, like, even you take the word marriage out of it and you just say relationship.
Yep.
Where I think a lot of why we've been successful is the communication piece. And I think kind of growing out of, I have to be right. Like, I don't remember the exact situation, but I think early on when we were living together, you know, she would leave the light on and it would drive me crazy. Like, it would drive me crazy. And I don't even remember how I approached it with her. But, you know, there are those things where it's like, maybe you tell someone something that either you do want or you don't want so many times, where then when they do it, it feels like a personal attack.
Mm.
And you get emotional immediately upon seeing the light switch on, or like whatever it is, the dishes are dirty in the sink, like whatever that is. And I think in a relationship, you know, to at least for me, I think it was growing out of those things, those like nitpicking things, and trying to see, like, zoom out and see the value in going through life together with someone as a good partner too, and be like, okay, you know, if we're dying, if I'm dying, or we're on our death, like if we're old, we're still together. Do I really want to be thinking about all the time and energy and emotion that I put towards being mad at someone for turning a light switch on, or like not turning it off, even though I think it just kind of like, you know,
Dude, it's the principle that I came back to. And I did not come up with this. I heard it from somebody else, but it was just like, hey, am I going to be bothered by this in 5 hours? Am I going to be bothered by this in 5 days? 5 months? And if I'm not bothered by it in 5 months, you know, if it's something that's consistently giving me trouble and it's going to give me trouble 5 months from now, then yeah, we should probably address it. But it's like, I don't know, when it comes down to things like that, like, I think that is part of a successful relationship, is being able to have compromises.
and even internally let go of stuff that it might seem big and it might seem like it's an attack on you, but yeah, it's not. I think I don't remember who said this quote. Listeners, check it out. It's a good one, I think, from somewhere, which is I don't even remember the quote, but the theme is we're all thinking about our
the best quote I've ever heard.
I think we're all thinking about ourselves a lot more, or as much as I'm thinking about myself, the next person is thinking about themselves. So I think we're pretty. I think it's just as humans, I feel like we're pretty consistently inward focused. Kind of trying to figure out our affiliation within our friend group, like whatever that is to you. Trying to make sure that we're doing things correctly. And that might not be quite true, but I think we think
Yeah, I
about our
mean,
own behavior quite a bit.
yeah, it's like the time-old parable of you do unto yourself as you expect your neighbors to do to you. I definitely didn't say that correctly. But now everybody's thinking about the actual right phrase there. I mean, at the end of the day, I think like the biggest compliment, and still will be a continuous struggle. It's not ever going to officially go away. At least I hope it won't, because it's also part of the driving force for Cal and I. It's the accountability coupled with the respect, coupled with the communication, coupled with wanting to see the other person succeed more than or just as much as yourself, like not putting yourself on a pedestal that's higher than them. And like that's ultimately I think what it boils down to.
I would also add, like, being confident that they love you, and even though they may do something that bothers you, it's probably not directed towards you in like a pointed jab. It's just they're thinking about other things that, even though that seems important, probably in the big scheme of things right now it's not. What are you doing after this?
I think I'm gonna go connect with Cal.
Nice.
Yeah. What are you doing?
I kind of want to buy a Lego.
Dude, you might not have too much time left on that.
I know. But then you said you're going to go connect with Cal. So my answer is that I'm going to go connect with Emily.
And with that, we are so thankful you were here on this journey with us.
Thank you so much. Signing off.
Kyle's going to play us out.
Amazing grace.
And like I was saying, when I go to Target, I plan on spending $5. All I'm looking for is that one item from the clothing department, that undershirt that just needs to be a part of my wardrobe. And I don't understand how every time I walk out, and before I know it, I've spent $210. And I know Kevin's going to be mad at me. But you know what? At the end of the day, what I get from Target to put those plants, those succulents, adding in some of that glorious home energy from Target into my own home makes that 210 so worth it. And with that, thank you for being a part of the Real Mom Hub. We'll catch you on the flippity flip.
You've been listening to The Real Mom Hub. Our music is by Naomi O'Leary. You can find us on social at The Real Mom Hub. We're not the authority or even very educated on the medical issues discussed. Do your own research, talk to an expert, make your own decisions, and call us if you learn anything new.
If you like what you hear, follow us on Instagram, or better yet, subscribe to our newsletter. If you don't, that's fine. We can all move on. Our purpose here is community, so if we've resonated with you, tell a friend.
Thanks for listening.